This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports in Chaco. We're here at Anderson Boxing, and we're here with the head honcho of Anderson Boxing, Dan Anderson. How are you, mate?
Not doing too bad. Long year, as you know. That's sort of what we're going to talk about a bit today. Glad to probably see the back at 2022 for a few different reasons, but some things to celebrate, and some things obviously not to celebrate, but you keep moving forward.
I think it's been a good while. I haven't sort of done a bit of research into how long it's been since we've spoke on air. I think it's probably nearly about a year or so now, but I guess probably a lot's changed for you, obviously, in the gym, within the year. Obviously, fighters come, fighters go, and I say, obviously, some obviously sad parts as well, but I just obviously want to touch, obviously, first and foremost, because you're a boxing fan, first and foremost. We've had 8 shows in 2022 after, obviously, you and the business side of things coming through COVID and everything else. I guess in some ways it's great to have boxing thriving in Ireland again. Obviously 7 shows in Belfast and 1 in the south. In some ways it's really, really good for you, with obviously new fighters and stuff coming into this table, that 2023 is going to look very, very good for you and your boxers, but also for Irish boxing in general.
Okay, you can't, I sort of seen the Frampton era at Paddy Gall, working with Paddy Gall on the undercard of the Frampton era, so you seen Paddy Gall, and people don't realise a very, very hard time in boxing. It was Jamie Cunningham was coming through and Mark McCulloch. There were some great fighters at that stage, but it was a very hard time to get fights. It was a different era than now. And then we came through the MTK era, where MTK sort of gave boxers all these amazing options, and there was all these opportunities and fights abroad, fights here, big shows here, and now we're going to do Conlon here, so now we've got the Conlon boxing here. So I'm in year number 3, so it's sort of it's been an amazing sort of ride with a lot of ups and downs. And obviously we've talked particularly about Paddy Gallagher, the amount of disappointments and ups and downs along that sort of stage, and then all the hard times trying to get him a fight. I've worked with different coaches. Obviously, I was in a stable with Paddy when he worked with Jared Resney, and then he worked with Breen, so I was there at Breen's gym. With Jared, me and Jared teamed up with him at a massive sort of stable at one point, and a lot of people sort of looked at me as just the S&C coach, but with Jared then it became a bit more. I sort of took a more senior role and started coaching a bit more boxing, taking more pad sessions, bringing the boys sparring, and then it just evolved, and at one point I was just an amateur boxer taking strength and distance for professional boxers, but that gradually just became something more and more and more, where I was the second, then eventually I was giving the boys advice about boxing. And then at one point then I decided to team up with Dee, and there's no bad blood there. Me and Dee both sort of went our separate ways. He's done really well. He's excelled. Some fighters sort of were with me, and we sort of teamed up together. I was trying to focus on a couple of fighters to making comebacks like Paddy and possibly Taylor McGoldrick, which never happened. And then Dee went on with Compton Accelerated, and it sort of pushed me to go and do my own thing, because I've worked with other coaches, I've worked under other coaches, I've worked with Dee. I wouldn't say I worked under Dee, I worked with him, and I worked sort of under the likes of Breen and all. I worked sort of under Jared at times, whereas after 8 years, or 6 years of working with and working under coaches, and I'd said obviously to quit being an amateur boxer 5 years ago or whatever, it sort of led me to go, right, well look, I'm ready, I've done served my time essentially, which a lot of coaches don't do nowadays. A lot of coaches sort of, they get a run of maybe 1 or 2 fighters, and then next minute they're obviously on the big stage, or maybe on the small stage or small halls, whereas I've served my time. I've worked as the S&C coach, I've worked as the second boxing coach, and now obviously I'm working as a head trainer. So I switched my license a couple of years ago, and it's took me time. It has it took me time to build a stable and attract the right sort of fighters, and obviously there is some fighters that have accelerated massively this year in boxing. Look at Paddy McCrory, who was in here training last year, very good friend of mine, and Dee's done an amazing job with him. You have to give credit where credit's due. Dee's whole stable's done really well, so nothing but admiration and respect there. But I'm on the same journey myself, and having my own pro boxing gym as a very young up and coming coach is going to be a massive factor for me, and we could do a bit of heating at the minute, so we joked earlier.
If anybody looking out there, it does heating in any ways, and they want to sponsor Anderson Boxing, get on it, because my feet are like ice blocks.
Well, we're looking into putting in a bit of aircon, a bit of heating in, so it's something that obviously through my business end of things, I do run a personal training business, we're looking into financing a bit of heating. But as we know, the way Belfast works, it's cold for 2 months a year, and sure, the rest of the year, November it was warm, and there was no seeing your clouds coming out of your mouth. But obviously we're at a different stage of the year, it's that wee bit colder, and it could do with being a bit warmer. But look, listen, we're working on it, as always. I'll always strive to bring the perfect gym, bring the perfect facility for boxers. Simple things like looking into a bit of a recovery suite for boxers and another part of the gym. So we're looking into like an infrared sauna, ice bath, and just constantly growing my business as well, the personal training side of things. I've now got a couple of coaches working for me, which allows me a lot more time to coach fighters, which is my dream, is to have a personal training business that actually allows me to be a full-time professional boxing coach, which we're very much getting to that stage. So,
and I guess in a dampener, obviously in the year, sadly, obviously we lost Harrison Jameson not that long ago. A lot of people probably don't know the story, but obviously Harrison was coming up. Obviously, it's his first session, going to be trained under you, and he was obviously going to be part of the stable. Obviously, it's a heartbreaking time for you to go through. We've obviously seen so much tragedy and everything in life nowadays. But, for you, I guess, you probably, even though you didn't know him too well, it's obviously coming to terms with sort of being the sort of last sort of person that knew Harrison, before obviously his passing. And I don't think anybody in Irish boxing circles can't obviously feel it in their heartstrings. But I guess now it's obviously about keeping the memory going, obviously keeping Harrison's name relevant, and everything that you do. And obviously, something has always been very good with you, Dan, is you're always very community orientated, and you don't forget where you've come from in some ways. So I'm sure Harrison's legacy will always be imprinted in Anderson boxing moving forward.
Oh, it still pulls on my heartstrings. It just, I break your heart. I don't even want to talk about it. I do want to talk about it, but I don't. I'll just take a wee second there. Tough. Bit of trauma, like a couple of weeks after, just hard to really come to terms that you're the last person to speak to someone. But
do you see some ways of helping get over that? Is obviously having Dominic, obviously was a good friend of his, and helping Dominic through his tough times. He obviously fought in his memory and things like that. And me sitting ringside in the Girdwood, you're nearly tearing up because it takes serious balls going through grief and everything else. They still get in and fight on a fighter's memory. So do you see that sort of your grieving process through Harrison has been helping Dominic come through his recovery?
No doubt. A lot of times when you win a fight, as a coach and as a boxer, because it's all about the boxer at the end of the day, you celebrate and you're buzzing, but that wasn't a celebration. That was more, I don't know what that was. So Dom won. I jumped with joy because I was happy because obviously he got his first win for Anderson Boxing as my own stable. I'm doing my own thing. So a great kick off in one way, but like the minute we walked out of the ring and we started talking, we were like, we didn't feel happy. We were more sad because it was more of a memory of him. And then we come back in and we done like a memorial. We done the 10 bells and it was lovely and it was great for his family and they were all there. But like when we come out and they were playing Forever Young, and it was just that song so relevant because I put up a wee post of him shadowboxing with that on, and it was just it was so gut wrenching. Like so coming out and giving his family a hug and speaking to him, and like it's just it's still very sore. It's still like boxing's been a bit evil this year. It hasn't, and it's happened in other I remember similar thing happened with a kid in Guyana. It's a really horrible sport because you do deal with a lot of people and things like this can happen, and it's so sad, and it's just it's tough, and a boxer's mental health when stuff like this happens. The likes of Dom's been an absolute trooper, but like as I said, sometimes you celebrate a win, whereas that sort of felt like that was like strange.
In some ways, and I know obviously I spoke to Dominic, a short time afterwards, and I was sort of saying, he was having obviously rotten luck in boxing, obviously Luxembourg and everything else sort of started that trend, and I think where we always try to look for the good in something, obviously in the good of Harrison's passing is probably going to be a rebirth of Dom in a way. It's going to obviously make him appreciate, not that he doesn't appreciate boxing, but it's going to add that wee extra layers to his game now. They know that what he's come through and fighting on in his friend's memory is probably going to make him 10 times the fighter he was previously.
A guy, definitely, yeah. Look, and I've seen a different Dom, and I hope people have seen a different Dom in that performance. And essentially, he fought with one hand as well. Like he bust his hand. He did a bit of sparring with O'Neill, and he caught him a right uppercut and quite had his thumb, and so he had a bit of a stave thumb. We thought it was broken, maybe fractured, but it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. But like he wasn't using his right hand, so like he basically his last fight was like a one-handed fight, and he boxed brilliant, and he won the rounds comfortably against a really cagey operator, a great guy, and Josh Cook. Actually, I've kept in touch with him, and you know how important journeymen are to the game, and I've sort of messed him a couple of times because it's nice to sort of do that. But But yeah, it spurred Dom on, and Dom sort of shown now that he had a bit of hunger, I think, when he came to me. But now he's a bit between his teeth. Like, boxers need a bit between their teeth. Like, even as a young amateur myself, I sort of felt that rates we talked about the last time in a bit of a troubled sort of teenage years, and in my 20s, a lot of people wanted to prove wrong. I wanted to prove that, like, listen, no, I am a good person. No, I can be a good boxer. I can turn my life around, and boxing done that for me. Boxing, as you know, I've told you before, like, without boxing, I don't know where I'd have been. So now, like, for any young guys out there that are listening to this, like, you know, like I was running about with all the wrong people and taking drugs and partying and just on the wrong path, and like, I turned to boxing, I turned to personal training, and now I am here, 10, 11 years on, with my own professional boxing gym, my own personal training business, with guys working for me. If you'd have told me that when I was running rogue in my fucking 18, 19, 20, I'd have laughed at you. I'd have said, geez, you're speaking to the wrong person. But, you know, boxing turned my life around, and I really want to do that. And this is why I'm in boxing. I'm in it. I've always felt for the right reasons. I'm in it to help young men or young boys become men and turn their life around to the sport, and obviously turn away from the stuff that brings you the wrong direction, which we're all guilty of. We all like to have a beer. We all like to have a beer and let the hair down in Belfast, but sometimes too much of that, especially if you're a fighter, will definitely bring you in the wrong direction. Even as little of that as possible is sort of what I encourage in the camp, if not completely take it out whatsoever.
You're obviously not just training, obviously, Dominic, obviously professionally, obviously you're helping out with, obviously, Emerald Boxing Club as well. And obviously I've been in here today, obviously watching potentially a new professional, obviously coming into the ranks with you as well, which you're excited about as well. So do you obviously see now that sort of, you know, I guess you did Paddy Gal years, and obviously the sort of years sort of afterwards, is it probably now, I guess that's a word used a lot in boxing, sort of rebirth, you know, obviously, this is really like a sort of relaunch sort of Dan Anderson and obviously Anderson Boxing, that 2023 could be a big year for the gym?
Well, absolutely. Look, I have some great amateurs around me, and a bit of a tough year in amateur boxing as well. So boxing be a really horrible sport at times this year, where I fell in love with it. We remember saying you had a couple of months where we were sort of like, what's the point? Because like, I didn't have a certain amateur course, I couldn't corner some of the amateurs I was training. Now that's all sorted, thank God. The courses are up and running again. I know COVID was a big factor. Obviously, I'm not going to point any fingers. It's not the amateur board's fault. At the end of the day, like, they couldn't facilitate the courses, whereas they're facilitating them now. So now I'm in a position where I can corner amateur boxers again, which was really sore point for me. You know what I mean? Not being able to corner guys you're training. And obviously, yes, I'm building a new fresh pro stable, but it's my ideas, it's my ideologies, it's my philosophies in boxing, it's my thought processes that are steering it. And yes, I have a great qualification in strength and distance, but I've started to bring in a strength and distance coach, a guy that worked with Mark McCulloch, a guy called Peter Strain. So I'm starting to build a bit of a team, and eventually I'll get there. Obviously, Paddy done second from one of the fights. I don't know where Paddy's head's at. If Paddy wanted to be second, geez, me and Paddy started the journey. I'd love Paddy to be part of the camp, but Paddy's very committed with different things in boxing and run his own gym. So I don't know if he has the time to be the second, but eventually I will get the right second, and eventually I'd like this to be one of the biggest stables, and it will be, I know it will. This will be one of the biggest stables in Ireland and one of the biggest stables in Belfast, which, as we know, is Fight City. Like, so that is the main goal, and simple things like getting a bit of heating in and recovery suite and just having the right strength and distance equipment, the right sort of style of boxing gym for fighters training. It's something that, like, I built this in mind of professional boxers. Very few guys when they open gyms build it thinking of boxing, whereas I built this, the perfect setup for professional boxers. And I know that having the right setup, but also having the knowledge and the experience in the background to go and actually do it is something that's going to come to fruition, if that's the right word. It's going to come good. So I'm a grafter, mate. I was a grafter when I was a fighter. I'm a grafter as a coach as well.
I was just going to obviously put on that as well. Obviously, anybody watching, obviously, able to see the passion. Obviously, you're pretty much like me. Your life's boxing. Obviously, your wife probably goes, the widow. You know, it's the widow. But obviously, people can see the passion. Obviously, you have, and that's a strong point you have to have, particularly when you're around boxers all the time. Coming into obviously 2023, if there's obviously any boxers out there obviously looking for a new challenge, maybe looking at turning pro, is there obviously opportunities within Anderson Boxing? Probably, I would always say for the right person, because obviously they need to be part of an environment and they need to tick the right boxes.
Definitely. Well, yes, because I've had guys reach out to me, and I've sort of I haven't had the opportunity to maybe work with them, so I had a couple of different guys. just because it didn't suit, and maybe just I don't think it was right. So, but at the end of the day, yes, there's opportunities. There's always going to be opportunities, because at the end of the day, a gym thrives when you've got a handful of boxers. But like, I only want to work with a small amount of professional boxers at this stage. Do you know what I mean? When I have a good second coach, when I haven't at the Portugal would have been a perfect second coach, you know what I mean? But when I have the right sort of team around me, when I've got a bigger team, then I will take on more and more fighters, obviously. But at this stage, like, my max could be 3 or 4 professionals, like, because obviously I have to run a personal training business as well. I have other commitments outside of boxing, but boxing's where my heart's at and where my passion's at, and it's my driving force. It's always been my driving force, like, do you know what I mean? I've been around elite boxing from I was 15 years of age, like, from as far back as Tommy.
And you're 45 now.
I feel 45. After this year made me feel 45. After this year, I feel 45. But like, I've been around elite boxing from as far back as Tommy Waite, when I was 15 in Holy Family, training there for a British title and doing a bit of body sparring and a bit of crack. They like watching Frampton coming through, and like, I done a wee bit of sparring with Frampton. I was a big novice at the end of the day. Like, I wasn't giving him amazing rounds or anything. He was in an early stage of his pro career. I sparred the likes of Paddy Barnes for a bit of crack with my box Holy Family. I sparred Ryan Burnett. I sparred D Walsh, actually. I cornered D Walsh at one point with Jared. No. So like, I've seen so much in boxing, and I've been around like the Walshes, Aidan and Michaela Walsh, unbelievable talent. I've been in the gym with them for years on and off, depending on what gym they sort of were. So I've spent my whole life involved. As a boxer, obviously I didn't really achieve as much as I wanted to. I didn't really win the Ulster Elite title and the stuff that I set out to do. But like, I've spent a lot of time around elite boxing from no age. And like, I'm a sponge. I watch it and I absorb it. Like, I've always been a coach, obviously, as a personal trainer and a coach for like 11 years. So like, one thing I've always found is a very adaptable approach. So if I see something I like us all, like, I'm sure every coach, doesn't matter who you are, you see something they like, you go, oh yeah, here, I might try that out, or I'll use that. And I've been very lucky to be around the likes of Lewis Crocker, and like, being around Paddy Gallagher, and being around top quality professionals, and watch them spar and learn from them, and coach them and pad them and stuff. So I feel that I've so much to offer. I've always said this, but it's only a matter of time, as I said before, it comes good. And as I said, I want this to be a hub for Belfast. I want this to be like a professional boxing hub, and simple things, as I said, that I'm going to keep building it, to keep it, make it one of the best spots to be for boxing.
Definitely the drive and the hunger's there for all to see. Obviously, we said we'd keep this quick, because obviously you have clients and everything else to train, as well. But obviously, want to thank you once again for obviously your time. Obviously, we hope you obviously have a happy Christmas, and obviously, hopefully, 2023 brings you obviously everything you want from boxing. I guess as baby steps, obviously, as it can be at times, but getting obviously Dominic obviously out in January, and hopefully leading into a very busy and a very, I'm trying to think of the right word, very busy and a very successful 2023 for everybody at Anderson Boxing.
Just a couple of quick ones, obviously. So we've got a guy potentially making a debut, James Freeman. So I just want to give him a wee shout out. So obviously, great potential. Not much phenomenal background, but definitely going to bring a wee bit of excitement to the program. And also just a shout out to Harrison's family. If you're going to watch this, all my love for your family, and just like, Harrison is going to be remembered through my career, through this gym, through Dom, and it's always going to be a soft point for me. As you can see, it chokes me up a wee bit, obviously, but it's always going to be someone that's remembered. So just big love up to Edmonton. Merry Christmas to his family, like so. But thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Dan. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.